I woke up choking on a breath I didn't remember taking. There was something glowing above my head. Not light. Not a dream. Text. Floating lines of code in the air. Like a game interface had bugged into real life. Fate script unlocked. Main character you. Root betrayal. Heartbreak. Death by stalker. Countdown to event trigger 48 hours. What the actual hell? I blinked. Rubbed my eyes. Still there and worse? It kept scrolling. Paragraphs, sentences, dialogues I hadn't said yet. Predictions of where I'd go, how I'd feel, what she'd do. The Ice Queen, my girlfriend, the campus goddess. Perfect on paper. Cold as hell in reality. Every jealous guy's dream. Every girl's secret blueprint for becoming untouchable. And according to the script, she was going to betray me. Laugh while I begged. Then leave me shredded socially and literally. I'd die a pathetic, forgotten loser. All because I loved her longer than I should have. Click, decision made. I was not reading that trash ending all the way through. Screw the story. Screw the script. If fate wanted a puppet, I'd cut the strings. Noon hit fast, campus courtyard. Hundreds gathered for her birthday. Fancy cake. Extra photographers she'd pretend not to notice. Her friends squealed when they saw me walk in. Of course, classic moment. The loving boyfriend arrives with roses, kisses her forehead, and melts her frozen exterior for just one day like a drama. Fake. I didn't bring roses. Didn't bring a smile. Just a one-liner locked and loaded. She turned. Eyes soft with rehearsed affection. Darling, I'm done. Her lips parted. With you, I said louder now. This whole setup. This Barbie doll relationship. We're done. Gasps, phones raised. The crowd smelled blood. Her eyebrows twitched. Just once, barely noticeable. The mask almost slipped. You're joking, she said calmly. Tell them you're joking. I'm not. I looked her dead in the eye. I'm dumping you. Happy birthday. Time stopped. I swear I felt the campus spin slower for a second. Everyone waited for her to react. They expected a slap, screams, tears, anything, but she just smiled. Not the usual slow, icy curve of her lips. No, this one was wrong, sweet, warm, too perfect. My stomach twisted. That wasn't heartbreak. That wasn't shock. That was the smile of someone who'd expected it, and worse, was ready. I see, she whispered. I turned to leave. That was the plan. Drop the bomb and go. Clean cut. But her next word stopped me cold. So you read it too. What? My chest locked up. No way, she couldn't. She wasn't supposed to. Ding. System alert. Timeline disrupted. Yandere route initialized. Best of luck, player. And just like that, the Ice Queen became something worse. She became a woman with a plan. And I had just broken the script. I spent the whole afternoon pretending nothing had changed, but the weight of her smile kept clawing at the back of my skull like a finger tracing over my spine. That smile wasn't heartbroken. It wasn't passive-aggressive. It was composed, peaceful, delighted, like I just confirmed something she'd known all along. I ditched the party right after, ignored the buzzing messages, sidestepped the curious stares. Even the gold digger girl I'd replaced her with, Leah, kept texting me like we were suddenly legit. We weren't. I didn't trust anything anymore. My dorm door clicked shut behind me, and I sank onto my bed like gravity had doubled overnight. The script hadn't changed. It only glitched a little. The lines had gone red instead of white. And instead of deleting, it updated. Route change registered. Ex-girlfriend. Role switched. Passive betrayer. Active possessive. Unlocking subplot. You can't run. That was the name of the event? You can't run. I muted the interface and tossed the hologram away like it would disappear. It didn't. By the next morning, my life had gone eerily quiet. Too quiet. Campus buzz usually starts by 7:30. Group chat spilling into breakfast tables. Chatter about hot professors or stolen glances in the library. That day, silent. Like the entire university was waiting to see what I'd do next. I walked past the corner cafe where she always got her iced matcha. She wasn't there. She never skipped it. Even during storms, where is she? I muttered, checking the script again. No location tag. Just a dark screen and a timestamp. Day 2. Observation mode. Let him think he's free. Was this some kind of sick joke? I tried focusing on classes. Failed miserably. Leah, my new girlfriend, technically, sat next to me. Acting like she'd won something, her hand casually brushed mine across the desk. She looked so pale yesterday, she whispered, chewing feminine victory between each syllable. She's fine. You really did it cold. That was the point. She made a pleased little noise. We're the new campus couple now. God, that title again. I stared down at my notes, half expecting them to melt into red code. They didn't, but when I looked up, the Ice Queen was standing outside the class window, just standing, not staring at me. Staring through me. Like I wasn't even real. Same white dress. Same calm face. Her lip gloss shimmering under the sun like nothing had happened. Then, so slow it was barely noticeable, she touched her lips with 2 fingers. And blew me a kiss. I shot to my feet like I'd been electrocuted. The chair scraped the tiles with a scream. Heads turned. Leah blinked, confused. Something wrong? I turned back to the window. She was already gone. Leah wanted to walk home after class. I said no, she insisted. Said she felt eyes on her all day. That someone sent her 12 blank letters in her drawer, each with a red heart drawn in the corner. When she told me that, something cold latched onto my lungs. You think it's her? I asked. I don't know, Leah said. But she smiled at me in the library. Just stood in the aisle. Not moving. That was enough. I told her to go home separate. I needed time. Space. Logic. None of which I found. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying her face in the window. Calm, elegant, smiling. Like we hadn't broken up at all. Like I'd never left. Like she hadn't watched the world burn before and taken notes. My phone pinged at 2:17 a.m. No name. Just a message. You looked better without her. And then a picture me walking with Leah, taken from behind a tree.timestamp 3 hours ago. I stared at it until my hands started to shake. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't confused. She was hunting. The thing about winning a game you weren't supposed to play is that sometimes the prize feels more like a punishment. Leah kept smiling all week, holding my arm in the hallways, laughing louder when she spotted people looking. She wore perfume that smelled like cherry candy and victory. I should have felt proud. I was the guy who dumped the Ice Queen. I'd wrecked the script, taken control, rewrote my fate, except every step forward felt heavier, like I'd been tricked into opening a wrong door. One marked exit from the outside, but once you're in, it locks forever. It started small. My usual cafe order suddenly went missing. Baristas gave me strange stares. My card declined even though I knew it shouldn't have. My group project folder got wiped from the school server. No explanation. I asked tech support. They shrugged. Said maybe I never submitted it. I did. I remember sitting at my desk uploading it twice. Maybe it just corrupted, Leah said with a smile, twirling a strand of her hair. No big deal, babe. She wasn't worried. But she wasn't being targeted. I was. By Thursday, my name got dragged into some anonymous forum post accusing me of cheating, manipulating, exploiting, fake receipts. Edited screenshots. Guess who the girl in the fake texts was? Leah, guess who was conveniently omitted? Her, the Ice Queen. She hadn't said a word to anyone since the breakup, not a whisper, not a post, not a tear on social media, but her presence filled every crack I tried to seal. It got worse. Leah's followers tripled in 2 days. Her pictures kept randomly landing on explore pages. Her comments overflowed with stuff like, finally upgraded. The new queen. She glowed up after leaving that psycho. That psycho was apparently me. And Leah loved the attention. She told me not to worry, that it was just backlash, that people were dramatic. She even kissed my jaw and asked what cologne the Ice Queen used to wear, so she could avoid it. Avoid it. She said it like that scent haunted her. But she didn't get it. That scent haunted me. Friday morning, another system notification hit right as I was brushing my teeth. Unnamed timeline update. Spontaneous obsession layering detected. New behavior, false stability before full collapse. Didn't know what that meant. I just knew my hands hadn't stopped shaking all morning. After lunch, I found a photo slipped into my locker, an old picture. Me, her, the Ice Queen, taken 6 months ago at the winter formal. We're standing under artificial snowflakes, my coat draped over her shoulders. You know what she wrote on it? We looked best like this. Let's try again, soon. There was a tiny heart drawn in her lipstick. Not a crazy red, not dramatic, just silent, intimate, precise. I snapped that photo in half and tossed it, told myself it didn't mean anything. She was just being manipulative. She wanted a reaction. It worked, obviously, because my chest wouldn't stop tightening. But here's the thing. She'd always been gorgeous, smart, calm, strategic. But this wasn't a breakup. This felt like she saw something bigger than me. Like dumping her didn't remove me from her life. It inserted me somewhere deeper, somewhere colder. Later that night, Leah called me sobbing, said someone had posted her old DMs from a year ago. Ones that showed her talking trash about me back when she pretended to be my friend just to get close enough, stuff she thought was long. Deleted. I hadn't seen the screenshots, but I knew who leaked them. There was only one person who'd know enough to hurt her strategically. Only one who'd, observe, burn you with your own shadows. She was cleaning the board. One enemy at a time. Leah begged me not to. Leave her alone that night, she was scared. Someone sent her roses with no name. 12 of them, all white. I stayed. Sat on her floor while she cried into her pillow and played some song on loop that only made her more anxious. And during all of that, I couldn't stop thinking the Ice Queen used to love white roses. Used to say they were the most honest flowers, nothing to hide, nothing to prove, just quiet and sharp like her. 12 roses, 12 days of the countdown? What was she counting down to? I got one more text before I crashed on Leah's couch. The new doll cracks easy. I remember when you chose better. No number, no profile picture, just her, somehow, always her. Watching, waiting, smiling. I used to walk across campus like I owned it. People smiled. Professors nodded. Girls cleared space a second before I passed by like instinct. I was untouchable. Clean reputation. Smart enough to keep it that way. Now? Now the halls whispered behind my back. Pauses in conversation when I opened doors. Side eyes paired with forced smiles like people were trying to pretend they hadn't already picked a side, and I already knew whose side they were on. Hers. The Ice Queen might have stopped speaking, but her silence screamed louder than any lie, and everyone heard it. By day, she was still elegance bottled in human form, perfect posture, polished outfits, soft good mornings to professors, light nods to classmates, but no one saw how the balance shifted. The moment I walked into a class she was in, someone always accidentally took the last seat near her, forcing me to sit away. In student meetings, projects I led were randomly reassigned. My name replaced on planning boards. People kept smiling at me like it wasn't personal, like fate just coincidentally hated me now, but I saw her fingers on every thread. She said, nothing. She just watched and smiled. Leah didn't help. After the roses and the leak, she got paranoid, then clingy, then annoying. She acted like she wanted to be protected, but deep down, she was only scared of losing relevance. She's messing with us, right? She'd ask every night us. No, she was messing with me. Leah was collateral, wrong girl at the wrong time. Still, I played the role, held her hand in public. Posted snapshots of our fake moments to drown the silence the Ice Queen left behind. None of it mattered. The algorithm still favored her, as if the system itself wanted her back on top. Everything fell apart on Thursday. I found out I'd been dropped from a major student research program, one I'd applied for months ago and got accepted into early. The reason? Behavioral concerns. That was the only explanation they gave me. Behavioral concerns. I laughed out loud in the dean's office. Couldn't help it. He looked uncomfortable. Kept tapping his pen. Some of your recent choices aren't aligned with the university's reputation policy. What choices? He sighed. You've broken up with one of our highest-ranked public-facing scholars, begun a questionable relationship with another student known for image chasing, and incident reports around you have tripled in the last 10 days. He slid over a file. Inside, forum posts, DMs, screenshots, gossip threads dressed up as evidence. Some I recognized. Some I didn't. All painted me as calculating, abusive, manipulative. I saw one line in bold at the top of a page. He dumped her publicly to damage her reputation. Total narcissist move. It wasn't even true, but it read well, and right now that's all anyone cared about. When I walked out of the office, guess who I saw sitting on the bench nearby? Her legs crossed neatly, reading a textbook like she wasn't 10 steps ahead of me. Like I hadn't just watched parts of my life. Collapse in slow motion, she didn't even glance up, just softly. Turned the page. I knew that page didn't exist. I knew she wasn't reading. My throat dried without warning. I hadn't spoken to her since the birthday. Yet, she'd spoken through everything. It hit me all at once. Hadn't dumped the Ice Queen. I'd declared war on her, and she had a whole kingdom, every simping male, every image-worshipping elite girl, every faculty member who adored her quiet charm, ready to burn me alive just to hear her giggle. I left campus early that day. Didn't even check my phone. Even Leah's calls got ignored. I wanted quiet. Just 30 minutes alone to think. But when I opened my apartment door, I stopped dead. A single cup sat on the dining table. Green ceramic. A faint rim of lipstick on the side. Her signature drink, jasmine white tea. No sugar, extra foam. I hadn't made it. No one else had a key. No one. Unless I'd forgotten she ever gave me a copy of hers when we were still together, when forever felt warm, or at least safe. Now, that warmth felt poisoned. I didn't touch the cup. Didn't pour it out either. I just stared and stared. Long. Enough to notice the tiny folded napkin underneath it. With one sentence handwritten in delicate ink. You still get tired too easily. Rest more. There was no name, but there never had to be. I didn't tell anyone I was going out that night. No updates. No stories. No location tags. The walls were closing in. I needed air. I needed silence. Real silence. Not the kind that weighed like a threat. The city always looked different after midnight. Familiar streets felt staged. Every parked car looked occupied. Not enough people to feel safe. Too many shadows to feel alone. I took the longer route back to my building. Avoided the main roads. Dumb idea in hindsight, but honestly, I think my instincts already knew it was coming. I turned into a narrow alley because it cut off 10 minutes of walking. Halfway through, I heard footsteps behind me. Not rushed. Not cautious, just deliberate. I picked up speed, so did they. I didn't wait to look. I sprinted, concrete under my feet. Cold air slicing my lungs. The sound of movement behind me wasn't panicked, it was practiced. Whoever was chasing me wasn't doing it for fun. They wanted something. Me. I turned hard around the next alley wall, nearly slipped. Hit a dead-end fence. I turned back. 3 guys, full black, gloves, no faces, no hesitation. The first one moved fast. I barely dodged a fist. Something sharp grazed my cheek. Second came in with a pipe. I stumbled back. Got in a wild kick that barely touched him. I was fast. But they weren't playing fair. I took a hit to the ribs. Dropped. Tried scrambling back to my feet. Then I heard her voice. Sharp, elegant, unmistakable. Stop. Everything froze. Not like the movies. Not instantly, more like someone pressed pause and everyone forgot how to blink. I turned my head. She was standing at the alley entrance. White coat, long hair tied back, face like winter. The Ice Queen walked in like she wasn't surrounded by potential crime. Even the shadows moved out of her way. One of the men stepped toward her. Confused, she didn't flinch. "You've done enough," she said. That voice wasn't loud, but it moved through the air like a knife. The three men hesitated, then left. Just like that. No fight. No words. Gone. They vanished the way trained dogs do when called off. I couldn't breathe. She walked over, kneeled beside me, reached into her bag and pulled out a tissue before I could stop her, wiped the blood on my cheek like I was some child who fell on the playground. "I warned you," she said softly. "This route has consequences." I swatted her hand away, stumbled to my feet, heart crash landing in my chest. What the hell was that? "A test," she said, standing up slowly. "You passed. Barely." "You're insane." She tilted her head. "Am I? Or are you still pretending the script didn't come first?" I blinked. "You knew? From the beginning?" A pause. Her eyes didn't shift. "I knew before you did. Time stopped. All this time I thought I'd gained control. Thought I'd seen the hidden rules, but she was already playing past them." "I don't want you," I said flatly. "Whatever this is, it's over." Her expression didn't change. No drama, no rage. She simply adjusted her coat, turned to walk away. But before she faded back into the darkness, she looked over her shoulder and said 5 words that made my skin ice over. "You will. When it ends." Then she was gone. Left me standing there with blood on my face, and the memory of her hand pressed so gently against my cheek, like she still owned it, like she never let go at all. And maybe she didn't. I woke up choking on air again. Same nightmare. Different version. White roses on my bed. Her standing by the window. My door wide open. Me trying to scream. No sound coming out. When I did find my voice, I whispered the line that's been eating me alive since the alley. "You knew before I did." She'd read the script too. Maybe even accessed more than I had. That means every move I've made wasn't just guessed, it was calculated by her. I stayed locked in my apartment the next 2 days. Skipped classes. Ignored Leah. Didn't scroll, didn't post, didn't even speak. Still felt her watching. A classmate texted me, "Hey, was that your ex at the security office yesterday?" She asked for footage of dorm access logs. I didn't reply. No energy left for pretending. I stared up at my ceiling for hours, refusing to say it out loud, but knowing it was true. She didn't just manipulate the system. She became part of it. That evening, someone rang my doorbell. I waited. Nothing. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text, "We used to eat dinner at 8, remember?" That. I launched the phone across the room. It cracked. So, I wasn't scared like before. I was getting angry. I made it to campus Monday. Every stare felt heavier. Every friend colder. My reputation was bleeding from every corner, and no one offered a tourniquet. Even professors started skimming past me during roll. Leah finally cornered me near the library. "Different energy now. Defensive, accusatory. You've been gone for days. People think you're losing it." "They're right." She blinked. I didn't care anymore. The fear was sliding away. It was something worse now. Something reckless. I thought about telling her the truth. About the script. About the alley. About how I didn't even feel like the main character of this life anymore. Instead, I said, "She's not done. Stay away from me." "Why would I?" "She's watching you, waiting. Everything around me gets touched. You'll be next." Leah stared at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. But then she whispered, "She's been liking my pictures. The ones with you in them. Nothing else. Just those. And they disappear 24 hours later. Every time. That's how she plays. No threats, no chaos. Just presence. She doesn't push. She lets you fall." Tried to confront her the next day. Waited by the hall where she always passed after council meetings. She walked through like a queen. Hair pinned perfectly. White blouse, dark skirt, flawless. People around her like silent guards who didn't even know they were following orders. When she saw me waiting, she paused. Everyone else kept walking. Or looked away, instinctively uncomfortable. like they'd walked in on something sacred. I didn't wait. I want clarity. She said nothing. You knew it all. You switched the route. You got in first. Still nothing. I stepped in closer, just enough so our shoulders nearly touched. You think you're in control? She turned her head slightly, eyes like crystal, breathing calm, then she whispered, I know I am. My hand tightened. I'm not coming back to you. Her smile was quiet, almost fond. I never asked you to. Pause. But you will. I laughed. Bitter. Hollow. You want me scared again? You want to watch me crawl? No! Her voice dropped just above a whisper. I just want you close enough to remember how it used to feel. And if I don't, then I'll remind you. We stood in silence for 5 seconds, maybe less. My heart kept racing like it hadn't heard her tone before. But I had. She used that voice when she told me she loved me for the first time, right before pretending nothing mattered 2 minutes later. Back then, I thought it was detachment now. I know it was precision, I walked away first, but I swear I felt her behind me the entire time. Like her shadow stitched itself to mine. Like our separation wasn't real, just a plot beat. I smashed my script panel open that night, demanded, clarity from the system interface. Query. Can timelines be reversed? Response. Terminal point reached. All branches locked. Recommended action. Accept character role or initiate memory collapse. Options. Resume the Yandere route. Ending. Permanent bond 2. Initiate reset sequence. Loss of memory. Timeline. Progress. I stared at those options until they blurred. My chest felt like it was splitting in half. Reset means forgetting her. Before it all got twisted, means no longer remembering the look on her face when she said, stay alive for me. During midterms in our second year, means erasing the only time she ever cried, just once. In silence, holding my hand under a tree no one saw us beneath, but staying means becoming hers again. Body, choice, memory, self. It's not love anymore. It's a sentence. And I'm already on death row. If there was one thing she mastered better than anyone on this campus, it was timing. Pulling strings only when everyone's eyes were on someone else. Returning exactly when you'd convinced yourself she was gone for good. She disappeared for 3 days. Nothing on campus. No sightings. No posts, no texts. The absence felt deliberate. Like she wanted to give everyone, especially me, the illusion of peace. Let the heartbeat slow down. Let the numbness wear off. Then she struck. The gala was formal, semi-annual, student council tradition, faculty, press, elite alumni, fancy music, gold accents, all plastic smiles and dresses that cost more than my scholarship. I wasn't going to attend. Didn't have the energy. But the moment I decided to stay home, 3 things happened. 1. The dean emailed me, personally encouraging my appearance. 2. Leah texted, I got an invite. You going, babe? 3. I got a new anonymous text. Same style. Bring that fake girl if you want. I'll be wearing white. Don't blink. You might miss the moment I end your freedom. I didn't respond. I just showed up in black. The room was engineered to impress. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, long tables with imported chocolate and clean silver, central stage with a white staircase leading to the second-floor balcony. It was the first time I noticed how many people on this campus were faking their lives, laughing a little too loudly. Holding champagne with trembling hands, wearing their parents' money like masks, I found Leah near the back. Tight red dress too short for formal wear, but she loved the cameras. She clung to my arm before I could even greet her. You look hot, she whispered, posing. My eyes were already scanning the crowd, not looking for her, waiting for her, because she made me like this. Life no longer felt real unless she was somewhere in the shadows. I felt her before I saw her, top of the staircase, white satin dress, hair tied up tight, red lipstick, eyes locked, not with the room, with me. She descended in silence. Not rushed, not dramatic, just like royalty returning from self-exile. Every camera turned, every guest paused. It wasn't just that she looked beautiful. It was that she looked reborn, like everything she'd destroyed had simply refueled her. Leah stiffened beside me. She recognized the power shift immediately, and then she smiled. The Ice Queen smiled at me across the room, but this time, it wasn't sweet. It wasn't broken. It wasn't even nostalgic, it was mocking, like she knew I had no exit left. Like she didn't care if anyone else knew. We didn't talk, not with words, but I felt her everywhere. She toasted the vice-chancellor. Got invited for photos twice, and just when people started to shift their attention away from her, she made her move. Subtle, surgical. She approached one of the old literature professors, started talking casually, until she pulled out a folder from her purse. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw what was inside screenshots. Chat logs, school submissions, grading breakdowns. Her hand lightly gestured across the evidence, like a dancer drawing invisible flames. 10 minutes later, the professor stormed out. I tried not to panic, tried to act normal. Halfway through a boring alumni speech, Leah excused herself to the restroom. When she came back, she was pale, not tired. Not buzzed, pale. She didn't speak, just clung to her phone and sat rigid, shaking slightly. "What happened?" I asked. No answer. She just showed me her lock screen, a photo. It was a picture of her, standing near a car, laughing with me. Only, it was taken from the passenger seat of someone else's car. You could see side view mirrors, dashboard reflection. Someone had apparently been following us, watching us. Concealed just out of reach, there was only one caption. "Pretty girls with borrowed pride shouldn't stand so close to flames." I took her phone and deleted it, but we both knew it didn't matter. Things sent by her didn't need to exist in your downloads. They lived in your head now. The gala dragged longer than it should have. I didn't see the Ice Queen again, but I felt her fingerprints across the entire night. Later, anonymously, rumors would start. One faculty member caught falsifying grades, another student suspended for bullying, an intern fired for leaked messages about someone's campus prince, ex. None of it ever came back to her, not directly, but all of it circled. Meet that evidence without fingerprints. Pain, without contact. At the end of the night, I found a card tucked into my jacket pocket. No name, just a quote. "Isn't it still love? If I build the scaffolding to keep you from falling alone." Below it, a second line. "I'll hold you up even if I have to tear the ledge down." No signature. Didn't need one. I started sleeping with the lights on. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to see it coming. That unspoken feeling, the pressure in the room when no one's there. The all-consuming quiet. I've never felt alone in my apartment since the night of the gala. Nothing speaks louder than silence when it's full of her. I changed my lock, twice, bought a new keypad system. Motion sensors. Even got rid of the spare key I'd forgotten she ever gave me. Didn't matter. The signs were still there. One morning, my door was double locked. Outside lock turned once. Inside bolt turned left, and I'd never used both. That's when it hit me. She wanted me to know she'd been there. Not to steal. Not to talk, just to exist beside me. While I slept like a fool thinking distance meant safety, she was building something, and I couldn't see the foundation, only the cracks forming in my sanity. I filmed myself while I slept. Set up an old phone. Propped it on the shelf, facing the bed. It ran through the night. Full battery, new SD card. I told myself it was paranoia, but when I checked the footage the next morning, the screen froze for 24 minutes at 3:08 a.m. static, total blackout. When it resumed, I was sleeping in the exact same position, but the blanket had shifted. A different pillow was under my head. The one she gave me last spring. I hadn't touched it in months. It smelled faintly of jasmine tea. Drove across the city that afternoon, didn't tell anyone where I was. Going, too paranoid to go to Leah. Too proud to tell. Security. I just needed answers from the source. I pulled into a cheap lot and sat in my car for half an hour, just staring at her dorm building. The Ice Queen. She lived on the 4th floor. Left blinds partially open. A quirk she'd always claimed made her room feel less like a prison. Hilarious, really. Considering what she turned mine into, I didn't go up. Couldn't. Not. Because I was scared of her, but because half of me still wanted to believe. The girl I had loved was buried under the quiet sadist watching me from the window, and if I confronted her and found nothing left of that girl, what would that make me? That night I didn't sleep, but I pretended to. And sometime around 3 a.m., when the hum of the city died and the only sound was the slow whirl of my fan, I heard the tiniest click, like a breath, and the smell, soft jasmine tea, no footsteps, no whispers, just stillness, like she'd stopped needing to knock on doors or break through locks, like she was already part of the room, part of me. I forced my breathing to stay steady. Eyes closed. Chest rising slow, and I felt it. The air shift beside my bed. She was there. I didn't open my eyes. Coward. I know, but in that moment I told myself it was mercy, because if I saw her standing over me, just watching, just basking in being near me again, I wouldn't run her out. I wouldn't fight. I'd let her stay. And that terrified me more than anything else. She was gone by morning. Nothing taken. Nothing broken, just a single thing left beside me on the pillow. An old photo, us at the lake house trip. Early days, when she still smiled with her eyes. On the back, a single sentence written in pen. Sleep is sacred. I'll protect yours better than you ever did. I couldn't pretend after that. Couldn't laugh with Leah. Couldn't fake class group work. Couldn't sit in the library without feeling threads, pulling my limbs like I was a puppet in her favorite game. Even my system, script, gave up trying to alert me the timeline wasn't changing, because this was the timeline now. Welcome to the Yandere route. I couldn't breathe inside my own skin anymore. Everything I did, everywhere I went, it felt observed, judged, pre-written. I even stopped glancing at my script panel, not out of discipline, out of fear, because I already knew what it would say. No new branches, no new options, no escape offered, only her. Escape wasn't about running anymore. It had to be smarter than that. Clean break, coded workaround, a manual reroute with zero emotional backdoors. So I went textbook. I created a new dating profile, completely fake. Different name? Student from out of town. Psychology major. Seeking genuine connection. Within 12 hours, I matched with someone. Yumi. Soft eyes. Warm laugh. Didn't go to my university, lived 20 minutes away. Said she liked quiet guys who listened. Said she liked me. She didn't know anything about the Ice Queen. That was the point. Fresh start. System reboot. I kept everything detached. 1 call, 2 texts, then coffee. Just once. She sat across from me with a sunshine. Smile. The first normal hour I'd had in weeks. No shadows. Shifting. No tea perfume. No invisible hand. Outlining my fate. Yumi laughed at a dumb joke and offered to walk with me to the bookstore. Nearby. And right in the middle of that street, bright daylight. Weekend crowd. I let myself pretend it could be this. Easy. That she wasn't watching. That I hadn't been marked by her. I was wrong. Yumi died the next morning. They said it was a sudden fall from the top of her apartment complex. Ruled as suicide by the police. Accidental by the neighbors. Unavoidable, said the news report. But I knew. Better. Yumi hadn't posted anything odd. No one around her noticed even a hint of sadness. She wasn't sad, but she did the one thing you're never allowed to do once the Ice Queen sets her sights. She got too close to something she believed was free. I didn't attend the funeral. I couldn't. My hands wouldn't stop shaking for 3 days. I opened the script again. No resistance this time. Just raw acceptance. I scrolled until my eyes dried out and the words started to blur, just trying to find the line where she made the kill. But of course, it wasn't there. No timestamps. No commands. No record. Because some things no longer needed scripting. She had moved past the rules. Now she wrote her consequences in blood and grief. Not editable text boxes. I stopped going to class altogether by the next week. My inbox? Full of alerts. Department warnings. Academic status in danger. Didn't matter, I would burn this whole system to the ground before I let her become my ending, so I tried again. Different method. Different. Theory, not love. Hate. If affection bound her, maybe rejection, royal humiliation, could break it. I arranged for a professor's assistant to accidentally leak my rejection script pages, an essay I wrote about our relationship. Twisting it, fictionalizing it, mocking her in calculated, cruel words. I made it public. I made it painful. Made every sentence sound like I was never once in love with her, that she was a social trophy, a mistake, a mask I wore to climb ranks, ugly lies, but ones people believed. I scheduled the post drop during an online Q&A event she hosted. Live, unfiltered, brutal. Within 5 minutes, the Q&A chat was chaos. Comment sections flooded, tag chains formed. People questioned everything about her Ice Queen persona. Was it real? Now, was she just a product of image control? Obviously, my post had gone viral. For one moment, I thought I'd done it. Cracked her public image, ruined Hotch, game over. But she didn't delete anything, didn't react, didn't reply, no public statement. No defense, just silence. Until I got a new script notification, the longest one I'd ever received. One sentence. Candidate elimination successful. Ending imminent. And under it, her handwriting, sketched in black across my interface like graffiti on glass. Thank you for killing me. Now I can love you without the weight of pretending. The system window glitched 3 times after that. For a moment, my name disappeared from the interface. Just white space where the protagonist ID used to be. And in the corner, a new route activated. Endgame timeline triggered. Next event, rooftop. I closed. Everything. No more planning. It didn't matter who I talked to, who I loved, who I hated. None of it made a dent. Because this ending. It wasn't something I could fight. It was something she'd already written into me, and I was finally starting to believe. I wasn't the scriptbreaker anymore. I was just the final scene. There's a special kind of cold on rooftops. Not the weather, the silence, the height, the way the world looks so harmless from above. I used to come up here during finals, just to breathe, just to shut off the noise below. This time wasn't silence. This time was the final scene, and we both knew it. She was already there when I arrived. Of course she was, white dress, hair down, jacket flung over the railing like she didn't care if she forgot it, forever. She wasn't standing near the edge. That would have been too easy. She stood right where the shadows hit her just as the sun softened, half light, half dark, and she waited, like she didn't need to speak first, like I came here on my own. Maybe I did. I killed someone just by dating them, I said flatly. You know that, don't you? She didn't flinch. You didn't kill her. You knew she'd be eliminated. I knew she didn't belong in your ending. Her voice was calm, not defensive. Not guilty, just true. Like she wasn't declaring war, just reading the plan. I walked closer. Slow. This was never love. It was always love. No, I snapped. This was a script. A calculation, a game. You just didn't want to lose. I never played to win, she said softly. I played to keep you in the story. You could have let me go. I tried. When? She stepped forward. Her voice didn't rise, didn't crack. The day you broke up with me. I thought, maybe he'll live, stay safe. Beyond me. I blinked. But then you looked back. My stomach twisted. The way you looked back, she said. Like you didn't believe it yet. Like somewhere in you, you were waiting for me to stop you. And I thought, maybe you wanted to be chased. I stared at her. My mouth opened. Nothing came out? I followed the system, she went on. At first. Same as you. I saw the betrayal arc. The tragedy. Us ending badly. You dying, and I hated it. You could have changed the route. I tried. she whispered. But every time I moved something, it snapped back. The system punished me. I stepped back. My heart pounded. What did it do? She smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it wasn't sweet. It was broken. It was human. It started rewriting my memories. I couldn't tell what was real, what was original. That's when I realized I wasn't the heroine at all. A pause, her voice lowered. Not dramatic, honest. I'm the villain who dared love the main character. The wind touched her hair. Her dress moved slightly as she stood still. Like time wrapped around her but never touched her, and I didn't know how to hate her anymore. I thought if I just stayed close, she said, some part of you would remember how we were in the first version. There was a first version? She nodded slowly. No systems. No endings. We were just in love. She looked up at me. But you died anyway. Some car accident. Some random glitch. And I broke. Silence. And then the system offered me another chance. Only, she exhaled. A long, wounded breath. This version didn't have a happy ending. So I made one. I was shaking. Not because I was scared, but because somewhere beneath the horror, beneath the obsession, the control, the stalking, the manipulation, I heard her honesty, truth, wrapped in madness, affection, twisted by desperation, love that refused to die even when everything else did, even when the original version ended. I walked forward, stood beside her now. She didn't step away. Didn't reach for me either. We both just faced the city, two ghosts clinging to a scene that didn't belong to them anymore. I don't know who I am in this story now, I whispered. You're still you. And you? She smiled faintly. I'm the mistake you're not allowed to rewrite. I leaned on the railing. The sun dipped farther, orange bleeding into the skyline. Would you have let me go? I asked. If you stopped looking back, she replied. Yes. We stayed there in silence for several seconds. Maybe minutes. For once, no scripts, no alerts, no decisions. Just wait. Her shoulder brushed mine. It wasn't soft. It was real, frighteningly real. I should have walked away, but I didn't, because maybe she was right. Maybe even monsters were born in passages the author deleted. And maybe I turned her into this. It's strange how guilt softens madness. Like if you touch a scar long enough, even the pain starts to feel familiar. Expected. Almost manageable. That's how the days felt after the rooftop. She didn't vanish, but she didn't chase me anymore. No calls. No anonymous messages. No photos under my door. No locked doors, missing shelves, frozen security cams, just silence. And for some reason, that silence hit harder than all the chaos before it, because I wasn't sure if it meant she'd finally let me go, or if she was letting me imagine I had. The university moved on like nothing happened. That was the most humiliating part. No one remembered the drama anymore. The rumors, the breakup, the post, the death, it all dissolved, like the world agreed to overwrite everything not part of the current plot. Even Leah stopped texting. I think she knew it was over before I did. There's only so much proximity a sane person can survive when the person they're dating is still haunted by someone else. I didn't miss Leah. What I missed was the feeling of having someone safe enough to hold on to without consequence. That kind of safety didn't exist anymore. Not. In my story, a week later I woke up early. No nightmares. Sunlight touched my walls like it hadn't in months. I bought coffee. Actual coffee, not whatever vending machine sludge I'd been living off. No texts. No notifications. Just music in my ears. For a moment, the world felt untouched. I walked to campus like a normal student, almost smiled at the bus driver who nearly ran me over. I even stopped at a bench, opened a book, and read a chapter I didn't have to annotate. Peace, unfiltered, unearned, unfamiliar peace. That scared me more than anything, because she wasn't the type to disappear completely. She was the type to wait. Near evening, I got an alert on my script panel, except this time, it wasn't a threat, just 4 words blinking in white. True ending approaches soon. No timer. No route, just that. It didn't push for a choice. Didn't force a click, it just waited, because now my decision was no longer a choice. It was a final checkpoint. I went for a walk that night. I don't know why. Restlessness, maybe. Or the feeling of something breathing at the edge of the sky. The air felt different. Rain wasn't falling yet, but the clouds hinted at something biblical. I didn't check where I was going. Didn't realize where my feet took me until I stopped in the middle of it, the student park, where she once fell asleep on my shoulder after pretending not to cry during that dumb animated movie everyone loved. Back. When she still blushed. Back. When I still believed the coldest girls were always the ones worth saving. I sat on the same bench, but I wasn't. Alone, not 15 feet away, someone stood under the lamplight, white sweater, hair tucked behind one ear, both hands folded in front of her like she was in a frame. She didn't address me, didn't walk over. She just let me notice her presence. That was enough. Something in my chest squeezed. Not with fear this time, not even anger. Just inevitability. When I returned home, I found a note under my door, neat handwriting. No envelope. Just a page torn from some journal. One sentence carved into the paper like a final thesis. You smiled again. That's my favorite expression. I collapsed into bed fully clothed, eyes wide open. I wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to call someone and confess all of it, to the school, to the police, to anyone who could make it stop. But instead, I stared at my ceiling for 3 hours and asked myself a question I didn't want the answer to. Do I miss her? The next morning, I got a message from the university. Graduation details. Seating charts. Student spotlights, that's when I saw it. She'd been named keynote speaker. Of course she had, who else? Queen of transformation, idol of composure. Proof that grace survives heartbreak. She was going to end our story in front of hundreds of people. Beautiful, silent, unreachable. Except not really, because I knew what role I was about to fill. Graduation day was supposed to feel concrete, tangible, a clean break. Put on the robes, shake the hand, take the picture, move on. But nothing these days felt earned. And nothing she gave back ever came without a cost. I dressed in silence. Checked the mirror. Didn't feel proud. Didn't feel relieved. Half of me still expected to wake up, script floating above me, warning that none of this counted, that the real event hadn't triggered yet. And maybe it hadn't. My student ID was waiting at the admin desk with my graduation kit. Except, mine had something extra clipped to it. A single white ribbon tied through the lanyard with my name printed in gold. The girl handing it out smiled at me too long. One of her eyes twitched like she knew she was part of a scene. I checked the name list again for the 5th time. She was still there. Her, 4th row. Center seat. Keynote speaker. Honors graduate. Model student labeled as resilient figure of the year. What a joke. They didn't know. Or maybe they did and didn't care. Because her crimes were never literal. They were quiet enough to be called grace. The ceremony began under a cloudless sky, perfect light for photographs. Orchestra playing something soft enough to sound hopeful. When they called my name, I walked the stage like my legs weren't shaking and my palms weren't bleeding from my nails pressing too hard. I stood, smiled, took the photo, and as I stepped off the stage, I saw her. Front row. Eyes forward, hands folded. Watching me but not clapping. Just watching. Breathing me in like I was the part of the story she hadn't read in days. And my smile, it didn't drop. That's what scared me the most. When she walked on stage later, the cheers were louder than mine. Of course they were. She wore white beneath the gown. Of course she did. Step after step, her poise returned to center spotlight. No trace of the chaos, the stalking, the obsession. Only excellence, only grace, only her. And then it happened. Midway through her speech, she looked directly at me, voice steady, composed. But her words? They weren't for the crowd. They were mine. You may forget names, she said, and lose touch with your peers. But you will never forget the one person who rewrote your entire story without touching the keyboard. A pause. A soft smile. That person lives with you now, even if you never speak again. Everyone clapped. I sat, frozen, because that wasn't poetry. It was possession dressed like a compliment. It took everything in me to sit through the rest. When the final names were read, programs closed, flowers exchanged, I found 10 roses in my assigned seat. White, long stem, and a small note buried beneath them like a secret final chapter. Say it. I'm yours again, or we end today. No signature, no need. I left the auditorium without turning around, tried to blend into the crowd, shake hands, immortalize whatever normalcy I could salvage, but she found me outside. It wasn't loud. She walked up while everyone else was taking selfies and crying happy tears. White dress. Soft flats. No makeup now, just clarity. Like the war version of her had died, and this was all that survived. You looked good up there, she said. I didn't reply. She stepped closer. Or are you going to pretend one speech erased it all? I still didn't speak. She tilted her head. I gave you options all year. You kept running, and you kept chasing, I finally muttered. No, she said. I stayed. You looped. That cut deeper than I expected. You don't own me, I said. I grew inside the same script as you. You abused it. I made a prison beautiful and called it home. And you kept visiting the window. I wanted to scream at her. But the crowd was everywhere. You're delusional. Then why are you still here? She asked. Still looking at me like you're hoping you're wrong. She stepped closer. Our gowns brushed. 1 more inch and I would have felt her heartbeat. Say it, she whispered. Say the words. Or I promise. You'll never walk out of this ceremony the same. It wasn't a threat. It was a vow. And it had weight behind it. I turned away. Because if I spoke again, I'd lose control of the ending, just like she planned. As I disappeared into the crowd, my system finally lit up again. Only 1 notification this time. Character completion, 99.91%. Pending final choice. The scriptbreaker's dilemma. I didn't go home, didn't turn off my phone, didn't eat. I just walked. Crossed 3 boroughs without realizing. Every corner I passed looked normal, but I knew better. This world was paper thin now, held together by scenes someone else wrote for me, and she had stopped following, because now she didn't have to. At 2:44 a.m., the script opened on its own. I didn't ask, didn't. Click, didn't think. The window floated. In front of me like it was placed in the air by invisible. Hands, the options were waiting, not like before. This time there were only 2. 2 boxes, no middle ground. No rewrites, no editing tools, no back button, just a soft pulse behind each like a slow, trusted heartbeat. Choice A, accept the Yandere route. Ending, eternal binding bond status, permanent. Memory fully retained. Emotional state frozen. Level of autonomy shared. Choice. B, reset timeline. Scriptbreaker fails to complete arc. Ending, clean erasure bond status, none. Memory status, full wipe. Timeline, fresh reincarnation. Risk, loss of original self. What they didn't write was the real part. One choice lets her love me forever. The other makes me forget why that ever mattered. I stared at choice A for a full minute. The glow of it, the quiet warmth her if I clicked it. There would be no more exits. No more missed calls or broken locks. She'd be there. Always. Forever mine. But more importantly, I'd be hers. It wouldn't feel like a trap. Because she'd make it beautiful. That's what made her dangerous. You wouldn't even realize when it became devotion. When it stopped being love. When it started being survival. I switched to choice BA. Clean reset, no stalking. No heartbreak. No screams in the hallway at 3 a.m. No red folders. No jasmine-scented hallucinations erase her voice, her face. That one day on the lakeside. The night I got sick and she sat beside me sketching because she couldn't handle silence. All of it. Gone. But so would I. Because if she built herself around me, then maybe I'd been building myself around her for a lot longer than I wanted to admit. The system kept blinking. Choose now. 0:00:45. I breathed in and closed my eyes. This wasn't the kind of decision people made. It was the kind they carried. Forever, whether they remembered it or not. She once told me, even if you hate me, at least that feeling still keeps me inside you. That was the moment I should have run. But I didn't, because deep down, God help me, I thought that kind of devotion was beautiful. Thought it was rare, romantic, loyal. It wasn't. It was a sickness dressed like a soulmate.00012I. Kept my finger hovering over the panel, sweat along my spine. My vision blurred. The world felt quieter than ever before, like it was waiting to see whether it existed tomorrow. She may never forgive me. Or maybe she already knew what I'd choose. Maybe, in her version, I already did. But in mine, I clicked. I woke up in a bed I didn't recognize. No weird glitch screens. No hovering text. Just morning light. No script above me. No deadline. No choices. Just quiet. Pure, terrifying quiet. The room was simple. Walls blank. Desk bare. An unopened suitcase propped in the corner. I moved slowly. Looked down at a phone I didn't remember buying. No passcode. No messages. I tried recalling a name, my name, but it felt distant, like it was still loading in the background. Outside, the campus was different, smaller, less prestigious. No elegant courtyards or spiraling fountains, just trimmed grass and brick buildings that looked older than the students walking between them. No one stared. No one whispered, because no one knew me, and I realized that was the point. Girl passed me on the path to Central Hall, long black hair, tall frame, white sweater. The kind of silhouette that made something in my chest tighten on instinct. She noticed me looking. Gave a small nod, a closed-mouth smile. Kept walking. My pulse jumped, then faded. She wasn't her, not quite. Same shape. Same shadow. But no fire behind the eyes. No claws hidden in the soft smile. No history between us like bruises under skin. Just a stranger. Beautiful, ordinary, and gone in the next breath. I sat on a bench outside the library and stared at my hands. Waiting. For what? I didn't know. A notification, a whisper. Someone to break the fourth wall and tell me this. Wasn't real either, but nothing came. Not even silence with weight in it. Just life, steady, unscripted. Then it happened. Barely audible. A small chime. Ping. My phone buzzed, locked, then displayed something I hadn't seen since the beginning. A script panel, but this one was simplified. One line. Welcome back. Player. Beneath it, a folder. Yandere root. Volume 2I stared. My breath caught. Somewhere out there, she remembered, or worse, she never forgot.
People think I broke when he left. That's not true. I was already broken. He just pulled the curtain. The first time I saw the script, I thought it was a hallucination. Code in the air. Words in the margins of my world. Everyone had roles. Lovers, haters, side characters, background noise. And me? I was the ice queen, archetype cold, trait untouchable. Ending, betray, walk away, forget, that's all. Even when I tried to change lines, soften actions, open up, the script would snap back like a rubber band, punishing me quietly. Headaches, forgotten hours, grief I couldn't name, so I kept pretending. Fewer mistakes that way, fewer glitches. And him? He was supposed to love me until the midpoint, resent me by the climax, and die by the end. The first version, he wasn't even sad. Just numb, didn't fight, didn't scream. Just let himself break under the pressure of fate. I was there when the system announced his death. Route complete. Tragic male lead terminated. I stared at the words for hours. Then something inside me cracked, right where love was trying to live. The system offered another path, an unspooled time loop, optimized for romantic recovery. But the twist? Now I remembered everything. And he didn't. Every version after that, I tried something different. This time, more vulnerability. Next time, forceful affection. Then, soft boundaries, seductive guilt, quiet manipulation. None of it worked. Each time, the system would begin anchoring me deeper into the same archetype. Possession disguised as commitment, villain dressed as lover. And I realized, to protect him from dying, I had to become the one thing more terrifying than fate. A woman who wouldn't let go. Was it love? Maybe not the kind stories write about. It wasn't flowers and sunsets and forehead kisses and emotional safety. It was obsession with grace. It was devotion. Sharpened into a blade, it was studying him like scripture because I didn't trust myself to make him smile anymore unless I rehearsed the moment 1,000 times before sunrise. I never stalked him to punish. I stalked him because letting him vanish felt like peeling skin from bone. I never sent threats. I sent reminders of who we were, of what we were before the system. Cheapened everything into stereotype and plot triggers. Yes. I smiled when he left me on my birthday, not because I didn't feel pain, but because pain meant the root had changed, and root changes meant hope. He thought that day was the end of our story. Really? It was the first time in all timelines that I watched him walk away willingly. I stopped being a character and started being the author. Was it evil? Maybe, but nobody asked how it felt to be scripted into someone no one properly loved, just admired from a distance or feared at arm's length. Affection haunted me. Love died on the page. Control became a lifeline. He thought he was choosing. He wasn't. Not completely, because even when he clicked that reset button, I made sure a version of me echoed, in the background, in the shadows, behind his new campus, in the smile of a stranger that felt too familiar, in the scent of white jasmine on a passing bus. See, I'm not jealous of his freedom, I'm patient inside his future. Because if he had loved me right the first time, none of this would have happened. And if he learns to love me right the next time, none of this ever will again.